Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Amanda. I work at Cumbria Tourism, and this is one of our Bookability webinar series. Today we have representatives from Freetobook. We have Ian and Eleanor here to take us through the system and sort of show what options there are for different types of businesses in taking bookings through their system. This is one of 4 webinars, so we have recordings from the previous 2, as well as we will have a recording of today as well that you can reference back. And for next week, we have super control as well. We do integrate with Freetobook on our visitor-facing website, Visit Lake District. So you can take bookings directly through Visit Lake District by Freetobook. We can give any more information on that and getting set up. And if you're not a CT member, I can also provide some information on CT membership as needed. So without further ado, Ian and Eleanor, if you want to take it away.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining us. Probably run this through as a short presentation, and I'll try and keep it as short as possible. And then afterwards, there'll be an opportunity for any sort of questions, a sort of question and answer session. It is quite relaxed, so do write down any questions you've got, and we're quite happy to answer them. But yeah, we're glad to be invited, and we'll get going. I'm ably assisted by Eleanor, who's probably the world's expert in terms of booking engines and channels and that sort of thing. She's got, just recently done 18 years. She's worked 18 years alongside us in this business, so there's not much she doesn't know about the accommodation sector. So if there are any clever questions, she'll be able to answer them. Okay, let's get started.
Sorry, before we do, Mark, can I also get you a message there? You put the window open twice, and I think it's affecting the sound. Is that right, Amanda? Is that why you keep doing that? Fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ellie. Thanks for picking that up. Okay. So that's my screen. I can presume everyone can see that. Okay. So basically, I will explain a little bit about the system and a bit of history about us as well as a business, and then I'll go through maybe 3 instances of the types of business that we connect with and perhaps the kind of services or products that they use. We're probably slightly different from other systems in the sense that we have a pay-as-you-go model, and also one where you opt into the services that you'd like to use. So there's certain things that we've got in there that might be more suitable for hotels than they would be a cottage, and vice versa. So you get to choose as a business, and you can come in and use the Freetobook booking engine on your website and use the diary itself, and also connect that into Visit Lake District. All that side of things is free from us. And then if you decide you want to add on other things like payment gateways or our channel manager, etc., you can. So that's why I've kind of split it out, and I'll work it on a products basis. So you can look at those things and see. But I'll start off by giving a little bit of history about the company. It was started in 1998 now by my brother. So he has a strong background in hotels, and ever since then, we started off selling accommodation online. And just as the internet evolved, so did we, and we understood we had to keep changing and doing different things. And basically, the crux of it is that we're always implementing technology which kind of replaces what we used to do. So if you look at what we do now as a business versus what we did 20 years ago, we build a technology that used to do the jobs we did by hand, and by fax and by phone. So that sort of continuation gives us a really good perspective, but also an understanding of how to make sure that we build technology that actually works really well. So we've come into this with a lot of experience, and that experience is sort of in the real world, and then just implementing it in terms of a booking engine, a channel manager, messaging, all of those sorts of things. And the idea behind it is that we provide sort of control, automation, and support for our customers. And the control is just that when you're using our booking engine, you do have a lot more control over your business. You have a lot more visibility as well. And then we try and make sure that the things that we implement, you improve your kind of the time that you spend doing them. So, you know, if a machine can do it quicker than you can and more accurately, then there's no reason that you shouldn't let the machine do it. In fact, there's every reason you should. And then on the support side, we just try and, you know, as a family business, we always make sure that, you know, we look after our customers, and you'll see that a little bit later on in the way that we support customers. But it's very important for us to make sure that, you know, that customers like ourselves, smaller independent businesses, you know, get access to really good, easy to use technology, and then they also get the support about how to implement it and make it work for them. So there's a lot of other things that we do around just providing a service, as, you know, actually explaining how it could be best implemented for your business. And just on the support side, you know, we do answer our phones. So we're probably quite unique in the industry in that. So if somebody calls, we answer the phones. We've got very helpful, friendly support team, very efficient and very experienced as well. I mean, that's kind of in a nutshell, you know, what we are. There's a lot crammed there into a couple of minutes. But just as a starter, you can see this would be your diary that you would have on Freetobook, and it has your various room types. It's one for a typical B&B, but it provides all the information that you would need, you know, at a glance to see what you want to do for your business. So it's very kind of rich page, and you can see in there that you've got your prices, your selling price, what's been paid, whether the guest has completed their digital registration if you use it, what time they're going to arrive, how many guests are part of that booking, if there are any notes against the booking, if there are any messages that the guests have sent, whether the guest has checked in, which channel they've come from. So there's a lot of information there, but it's there, you know, but it's not sort of, you know, you get to understand it quite quickly, and it's just there so that if you need to use it, you can. And that's the whole point, is the information's there, but it's very easy to pick and choose what you think is important to you. And you can also change this screen so that you can actually reduce it in size to get rid of a lot of the information if you don't use some of those services, or you don't really need to see all that information, or you need to see a longer period of time. So it's very flexible. I think the other thing that a lot of businesses are interested in is, what does it look like for my guest when they're booking? And our booking pages, they're currently undergoing an overhaul, and basically this shows the sort of work that we're doing and should be completed shortly. And it's very mobile friendly, obviously, but the idea behind it there really is that we just make sure that your guests, you know, it's very easy and clear to see what they need to do, and that it's intuitive and fast for them to complete. So, you know, they can go through that booking process by picking dates that are available, and they can use Apple Pay or something like that. So you can make a booking in probably less than 30 seconds if you know what you're looking for. So again, it's something that we try and do, and also that it makes sure that, you know, you're showing, you know, the best parts of your property when somebody's, you know, making a booking. I think just go straight in now to look at perhaps what a B&B would use on Freetobook. And again, these are 4 of the services, you know, that we offer. And if you would say you're a typical 5-room B&B, and you're working with the channels, you know, people like Booking.com or Expedia, Airbnb, then you'd probably use the channel manager. It's our most popular. Interesting thing about the channel manager with us is we try and make sure that you're in control of your channels. And that means that you can control your pricing and your availability across all the channels. So they don't have to be the same across all the channels. And a channel would also be your own direct website. So we make sure that, you know, at every point, you know, it's not something that you just open up and you know, sell infinitely. You know, if you have very busy dates, particularly, you know, over summer where you know you're going to sell out yourself directly, you can close your channels on those dates, so they won't be available, and guests could only book you on your website or on the Visit Lake District. So it allows you to control that availability very easily, and it also allows you to manage your prices to make sure that your direct price is always the best, which again, you know, is your cheapest way to sell. So the channel managers there. Our experience with channel managers, we built ours probably about it's about 8 or 9 years ago. We've done probably in the region of about 18,000 channel connections. So when you're talking to someone in our support team about channels, it's, they may have connected, 2,000 or 3,000 channels. So they've got a lot of experience there in how the channels work and how to identify any problems that you might have. And they'll answer them more truthfully, quicker, and better for you than if you go to the actual channel themselves. And I think that's one of our services that most of our businesses really appreciate. If they come to us with a query about a channel, we know the answer pretty much straight away. The other thing that, when you're using the channel managers, you could also connect your rates into something like Google Zero. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's Google's free booking links. And that's basically, if you look at your business listing on Google, on the right-hand side of the page in Google, you'll see that often if you're with the channels, they'll have certain channels featuring your rate. But you can also put your own direct rate on there on your Google My Business page with our connection. And it's something we really advocate because it's, for direct bookings, having your price and your availability on Google is pretty much as good as it gets, because, that's probably where about 90% of searches kick off. So often people would find you on the channels and then they might put your name into Google just to have a closer look. And having your direct rate there, and if it's more competitive or it's a better price than the channels, then you're likely to get bookings at zero commission. So this is something Google did about a year and a half ago. And, we were quite amazed that they did this, because this obviously eats into their advertising. But we've seen it work really well. I think this year so far, we think we're going to get about 40,000 bookings through it for our customers. So really, all of those are commission free. So it's quite an amazing thing. And we advocate everybody uses it, because it's just, it's very simple to set up, but it's also, in terms of your advertising, it's about as good as it gets. So we have that as a service. In terms of the payments, our main connection is with Stripe. A very simple and cost-effective solution for small businesses. You don't have to have a merchant account to have a Stripe account, so it's kind of an online merchant. So you can set that up within about 20 minutes, and then you can be taking payments from your properties, and it's fully integrated into Freetobook. And by that, I mean that, in Freetobook, if you take a manual booking over the phone, you can type in the card details to the online terminal link to Stripe. And if they make that payment through the payment link, it updates your booking in Freetobook, and it lets you know that that payment's been made. So they're a huge American company, and they continue to grow. But we work with them, and their technology is very reliable. And in terms of price wise, you're not paying your monthly rental on a terminal or any minimum monthly fees or PCI, because it's all covered by them. So it's a very good solution. The alternative to that is usually for folk that have their own merchant account. That's generally the larger properties. And if they're, for instance, with any of the large ones like Global Payments, Elavon, which is now a Payo, or Barclay Card, First Data, they can plug that into our system as well. So we have that option as well. So pretty much any way that you take payments, we can handle. We generally recommend for smaller businesses, Stripe is the most cost-effective by a long way. Another tool that we've built quite recently is messaging, and that's basically just a way that it automates and simplifies your communications with the guests. And that's just you can set up scheduled messages. So when a booking is made, the guest will receive a thank you for the booking email within about sort of 30 minutes. And then if they answer that, it opens up in a kind of conversation type thread, and then from then on, you can set up other scheduled messages, which, once they're set up once, they'll just go again and again. So, you don't have to think about, I need a pre-arrival email to go out for this guest just to explain where the parking is or anything like that. You just set it to go out 2 days before they arrive, and it will do that. And you put all your branding on there, and you can do your online registration and your, your digital registration, so the guests can complete that before they arrive. And when they're in stay as well, you can use something like surveys. So you can ask literally within about 20 minutes of them checking into their room whether they're happy with that. And it's a really good way of managing your guests' experience, because if there are any issues, they come up straight away. But I think, 99.9% of the time there aren't any issues, but I think the guests appreciate being asked, is everything okay? So that's kind of what you would look at a B&B. From a hotel side, we've got, bear in mind, a lot of these services are available. They're available to any type of property. But hotels, larger hotels work with us. And probably one of the key things that they're using at the moment is dynamic pricing. It's a connection we have into a specialist system, which will look at your pricing, and it analyzes a lot of data. And it works out, what your prices should be, and that's based on, the rate at which you're getting bookings, your occupancy, and also what the market conditions are. So it's a very powerful tool, and it will do that day in, day out. So it might rearrange your prices 360 days out, 5 or 6 times a day. So it can be changing literally hundreds of prices a day, not by a huge amount. It's often just tweaking them by £1 or £2, but it's just allowing you to make sure that you get the best, yield for your rooms. So if there's a large event quite far out, it will pick that up very quickly if bookings start to come in. So it's very useful. You can also control your settings. So you set your minimum and your maximum prices, below which you're not prepared to sell and above which you're not prepared to sell. So again, you're always in control, so that you're not perhaps charging guests for charging more than you would feel comfortable in terms of the service that you deliver. So there's a lot of control in there, but there's also just the release in terms of not having to think about it, and also knowing that the machine can do it and can do it really well. So a really important and very sort of successful tool. We've seen a lot of businesses grow their average daily rate by about sort of 20 or 30%, keep their occupancy at the same level. So at the end, at the end of the year, they might be 20% up on their revenue, simply by implementing a smarter system of pricing. So really useful. So if you're not busy, it will drop your rates a bit, but again, you set the minimum that you'll let it drop to. And then when you are really busy, it will stretch them towards your maximum and often hit your maximum. And then it might come back and say, actually, you know what, you could charge a little bit more on these dates, based on what other people are charging around you and also the demand. The other tool that we have with Google is the hotel ads, which is just it's the advertising platform where you can advertise, your property directly on Google. Very sort of simple thing to set up on our side. And then you do pay Google for the pleasure of those ads, but you will get bookings that will come directly off the OTAs and onto your own ad campaign, and they will, as a rule, be about 50% cheaper than getting them through the OTAs. And at the moment, we're seeing that even less than that, sometimes a third of the cost of what you would pay the OTAs. And that's because if you're signing up to Google Ads, you pay for the clicks that when people select your advert and then make a booking. So you only pay when a booking's made. But the guest also gets the opportunity of booking through the free booking link, which is the thing I showed earlier. And that comes in commission free. So we've seen that work really effectively and bring the cost of advertising down by, sometimes 3 or 4%, which, when you think of it, for a booking, that's quite significant when it was already only at about 7 or 8%. So a very powerful tool again. Probably lastly, on the hotel side, or sometimes on the larger properties, is we've got a reputation suite, which basically just handles your reviews to make sure that you get more really good reviews and that they're posted in the right place. And what it does there is it filters the guests' initial review. They get to score you 1 out of 5, and you set a threshold where you might say, oh, if they give me 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5, I'd like them to review on Google or TripAdvisor. And then that's what it will do. If the guest gives you a good rating, it will send them the link to leave a review on those sites. So you're just basically making sure that your best reviews are in the places where your guests are most likely to see them. So, and it does that all automatically again. So it's you're not having to send that out and ask the guest to review you in those places. It's done straight away. And the last thing really just to look at in terms of the properties would be maybe cottages or self-catering. And as again, you've seen a couple of these services here that I've talked about, like Stripe and messaging. I mean, Stripe for small independent businesses, you know, maybe 1 or 2 units. There's no other system out there that's as competitive as their pricing. I think they're 1.4% plus 20p on a transaction, and that's pay as you go. So if you're not getting any, you know, payments going through, then you're not paying Stripe. So it's really competitive. And I've discussed a bit about messaging. Quickly on the channel side of things for the cottages, we're currently working on a Google Vacation Rentals connection, which is similar. It's the same sort of thing that I was talking about with the Google free booking links, except it's for vacation rentals. So that's a connection to show your price and your availability on Google for your guests to see, and it's specific to what they call vacation rentals in America, which I think we just call, you know, cottages or self-catering. So that's not far off completion. We're busy in testing with Google on that. I mean, that's kind of as a rush through the various products and services. But as I said earlier, you sort of pick and choose, you know, what works for you. You don't have to use any of those services. You can just use the booking engine and diary and connect it into Visit Lake District as well, and that's all free. So I think on the earth we're the only booking engine that does that. But in summary, I'll kind of just explain a few things. I mean, again, the 3 things that we've always tried to give, you know, the small businesses that we work with, the small hotels and guest houses and cottages, is control over their business, automation to save them time, and then support to make sure that they, you know, they get the most from the system and that they feel like they're, you know, that they understand how it all works. So in terms of connections to your Visit Lake District, in Freetobook, you would just go in and there's a couple of tabs. You click, you get to the place, you click the button on, and that's it. There's nothing else. And then it will just feed through your rates and your availability directly through there. And the bookings that do come in from the Visit Lake District site, they are tagged so you can actually see them and you can report on them as well. So there's a reporting suite in Freetobook, as well as all the other things that you'd expect a booking engine to do, like handle special offers and non-refundables, you know, setting up occupancies for the various rooms or property types. So all of that's handled kind of, you know, as standard. I think the other thing we have opened out recently is a community, and that's basically, in its simplest form, it's a bit like a mini website where you can go in and talk to other Freetobook users, share ideas, help each other, support each other, you know, learn new things, and there's also a knowledge base in there, which is a library of videos and help articles. You know, some of them not talking specifically about us or Freetobook, but just in general about the right things to do for your business. But the value of it mainly, I think, for Freetobook customers is that they get to talk to other Freetobook customers about some of the things that are happening. So if there's an issue with, you know, a change at booking, you know, the booking.com have done, you know, someone will quickly go in there and post a question, and usually within, you know, a short space of time, there's a few come in with some really good answers about how to handle it. So it's a really safe and good place to learn and support each other. So we're very proud of that. And we also go in there and we'll post in things there which we think are relevant and helpful to the businesses. In terms of switching to us, very easy process. We can input your bookings direct and any that have come through channels like Expedia, Airbnb, and Booking.com. We've got all that in place, so it's very easy to do that. We do have dedicated support with, you know, a huge amount of experience, and for the larger properties, there's also, you know, an account manager that will help you move across things. But when I say, you know, that it's hassle-free, I'm not just saying that, I'm kind of looking back and seeing, right, okay, well, we've moved over 4,500, 5,000 properties from other systems. And generally people that move over don't go back. So we take a lot of care to make sure that, you know, you find exactly what you're looking for, that the setup's right, and that you understand, you know, how to use it. That's probably about it. So big thank you to Visit Lake District for inviting us. Really appreciate that. And kind of maybe open the floor here to any sort of questions that people might have. Let me stop sharing.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or type them in the chat. For either Friends of Freetobook or myself at Cumbria Tourism. Right. If there's no questions, I'll be sending around a follow-up email once we have this video uploaded onto YouTube. Oh, there we go. There's a question. Can you summarize the setup costs and ongoing costs?
Okay, so that really depends on what services that you want to use. I mean, I'm quite happy just to explain a couple of the main ones, like the channel manager. So if you wanted to use the channel manager on Freetobook, which connects you into booking.com and Expedia and Airbnb, you would choose which channels you want to connect to. And there's a setup charge of £49 per channel to do the connection. And then after that, it's £1 per booking that comes through the channels. This is all on our website, by the way. We do publish our prices. So if you go to our pages, our price page on the website, and I'll send that. I'll make sure that's included in the link that goes out in the email, because it's all there for you to see. So ongoing costs on the channel manager, you'll be able to work that out, because you'll know how many channel bookings you get each month. So we have a 30-room hotel in London, which will do 400 or 500 channel bookings. They'll pay 69 because it's capped at 69. And then vice versa, we've got a 1-unit cottage in the Outer Hebrides that might do 3 or 4 bookings a month in high season and none in low season. So they would pay 3 or 4 months in high season and nothing in low season. So it's a pay as you go. And that's our main service. Something like messaging, I think our charge for that per year is £69, which works out about £5 a month, and that will handle your guest messages. Stripe, I think, is £89 for single units, and that's a subscription each year. Again, I'm just repeating, like, it's all on the website, so you can go in. The point I was making there is you kind of choose what you want, and what, some people will come in and they'll only connect to Airbnb, or some will only connect to booking.com. So it's kind of, it depends. But then again, with the channel costs, how many bookings you get through. What are the other ones there? Google Zero, we have a charge for that, which is a subscription cost across the year, which is £49 for the year. All bookings that come through that are commission free. So that works out about £1 a week to show your rates and availability on Google, which for the life of me, I'm not sure why 100% of people haven't done it, because it is probably as good as it will ever get in terms of marketing. I know we charge for the setup, but once that's there, we've had properties that have done upwards of 300 bookings through that a year. So I mean, it's I think in terms of the cost per booking, it probably reduces it down to about maybe 1 or 2% compared to what you might pay through the channels. So Google Hotel Ads is more for the hotels, and that varies, but it's usually advertising cost is usually about 7% per booking. But that it depends again on the hotels. Does that answer your question? We will send a link to the pricing, because our pricing is external, so it's kind of you can get to have a look and see what you think.
As far as getting set up initially on Freetobook, is there any sort of cost or anything that comes with that?
No.
For migrating bookings?
No. So if you get bookings, that's what the freemium model is, which is, again, that is unique in the world, and it has been for the last 13 years, is that you can register on Freetobook, set it up, put it on your website, and get bookings on your website and not pay anything. And we do still have a few thousand customers that do that. And our job is to try and cajole them into using some of the smarter services we've got. But I mean, from all the services I've explained there, you know, there's usually one or two in there that people go, you know what, that's really what I need. You know, for instance, we didn't start out as a channel manager, but within about a year or two of setting up, you know, all the businesses said, we really love using your system. We'd much rather use it than booking.com. Can you just do a connection so we don't have to think about updating booking.com? So that's kind of hopefully the services that we offer there. You know, again, we offer it in a very open and fair way. You go, okay, I'd like to try that, or that's interesting to me, or that's not. But we're confident. You know, we've got a lot of people using, but only if, yeah, only the services they feel that will add value to them. So I mean, for a B&B, I would say, you know, if you're using booking.com or Expedia, I'd say you probably want the channel manager. It's your call. And then I'd say don't ever do anything without considering Google, and then Stripe maybe for your payments.
Yeah, and another thing which he did mention was there's a really good community around Freetobook as well among the businesses and communication and sort of sharing best practices and things.
Yeah, I mean, that's a recent thing. Eleanor's set that up, and it works really well. You know, it's only as good as the people that are taking part, but there's some really smart businesses that we work with. They're really friendly, they're really helpful, they're really positive, you know, and they usually know the answer to most things very quickly. You know, at least they've got an angle on it. So an example was, you know, being opted into the booking.com's, you know, card payment scheme was automatic or whatever, and people wanted to work out how to opt out of it if you know, if they didn't want to, and the answer came through very quickly. So it's those sort of things where they help each other.
Great. Are there any other questions that anyone has? Been lots of notes being taken today.
If anybody does have more questions, they can just give us a call. You know, we've got our number on the website. They can give us a call. They can ask that, and usually, you know, somebody will call them back and just explain some of the things. But
yeah, fantastic. All right, just a last thing from us at CT then. If you're interested in becoming bookable via Freetobook on visitlakedistrict.com as a CT member, that is 10% inclusive of VAT commission on bookings taken, and that's collected quarterly by us. It's invoiced. Being bookable on visitlakedistrict.com, we've seen can increase your page views for your listing by up to 2.5 times as much as a non-bookable listing. So it is a really good advantage. Visitors can search by availability on the website, and that's how a good number of those page views come in. So if you do have any questions about your listing on Visit Lake District, or you'd like to inquire about CT membership, please feel free to give us an email or drop us a line. The best email will probably be website@cumbriatourism.org. I have access to that inbox as well as a few of my colleagues, so we'll always be around to help get you set up or answer any questions. All right, so if that's everything, then thank you everyone for coming. It's been really good, and as I said, I'll send out an email probably tomorrow with some links and useful information. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks. Bye.